is right after they're in the restaurant and they see their commercial, they go straight to the family table. Like they're at home and they're with their family eating and they're talking about the commercial and their family's sharing all their opinions. Their dad says, "I just wish you weren't dragging your brother down with you."
All right, everybody, welcome back to the WatchWell Podcast. My name is Parker, and this is my co-host, Nick. We're glad to have you. Nick, how's your week?
I'll just talk about today. So, we're recording this on a Sunday. We had over 20 baptisms at church today.
Oh, man.
And we're a fairly small church, so that's like almost 20% of the adults, and I mean there were some kids too, but 20% of the people in our church just about. So it was a big day.
That's a lot. That's a good day. That's a great day. That's awesome. Awesome. So if you're enjoying the podcast, if you're a frequent viewer of our episodes, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our new content whenever we release it. And if you believe in our message and you want to support the content to ensure it gets to more people, there are two ways that you could help support us. You could head over to pbcinematography.com. You can click on the shop tab, and there's a little drop down, and you can go check out our merchandise to help market and wear as conversation pieces with your friends and family to get worldview conversations started. You can use the movies and the episodes that we have previously recorded and released to do that, along with the merchandise. That helps us. And then also, if you want another way to support us, you can head on over to our Patreon page and support us there. If you're interested in more of Nick and I and the WatchWell Podcast, you can check us out on all of our social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can check me out on Twitter as well. I don't believe Nick has a personal Twitter, Facebook thing.
I have Facebook. Twitter, it exists, but I
never use it.
Couldn't tell you how to log into it or anything. I don't know.
Really, I guess I should say X because technically it's X now. Good old Elon changed the name.
Yeah.
And then, as always, the video podcast is on YouTube, and the audio version of the podcast is on all major podcast platforms. Awesome. So now getting into today's content, we are doing a movie review, and we're going to use the new movie, The Super Mario Brothers. So this one, none of our episodes are technically like specifically made for kids, but every now and then we do a kids movie, and this one would be a good one, I think, for the kids to listen along, and parents can use this as a benchmark to introduce biblical ideas, topics, and teachings to their children. So I think it's going to be good and fruitful for everybody. Nick, do you have any other ideas before we get started here?
Not really. I mean, just to repeat what you said. I mean, it's a good opportunity I'm sure a lot of kids want to see this movie or have already seen this movie. And now that it's on Peacock, I'm sure a lot of families have that as a streaming service, and it's a good movie to do for a Friday night movie night or, something like that. And this might give some for those parents or other people that want to find a way to use this as still be maybe a faith-building type thing, or help your kid understand what the movie is communicating and what they might not understand yet and things like that. Maybe it's a good opportunity to do that. So,
right, and I'm a big fan of Chris Pratt, so I was excited to do this movie. So, cool. Nick, you want to hit us with the rundown real quick on the movie to get us started?
You mean like just the plot and stuff like that? What it's about?
Yeah.
Go for
that.
So for people that, I guess, it's going to be very few people that don't know about the Super Mario Brothers just in general. This is a video game movie. It's based on the video game that's been around for, I don't know how many years, 40, 45 years, something like that, since the 80s. Came out on Nintendo Entertainment System, and it's one of those games that, just to tell my enjoyment of the game, played it all the time, and my wife and I were actually on an anniversary trip, and we were walking through the mall. Our anniversary's in December, so it's close to Christmas and stuff like that. So we were walking through the mall together, and we come up to this stand in the middle of the aisle, one of those aisle kiosks, and they're selling those old like tiny little Nintendo entertainment systems that are come preloaded with all these games. And so we had a hotel and everything. We bought that, took it back to the hotel, and then played Mario all night long. So like this is very nostalgic for me to see this movie, and something that I enjoy doing. But so the movie is based on the video game. You got Mario and Luigi and Princess Peach and Bowser and a lot of other characters if you've played like Mario Kart and games like that. So that's the kind of central thing, is that it's based on that. But then it's this particular movie, this particular story is essentially Mario saving Luigi from Bowser when they get sucked into the what did they call it? Saving him from Bowser, but what did they call the land? What word did they use? I'm blanking on that.
Ooh.
Was it Darklands or something? Like, was it Darklands?
Yeah, the Darklands. I think that's right. Yeah.
So they both get sucked into this strange world when they're trying to help Brooklyn in the midst of a plumbing catastrophe. They both get sucked into this other world. Mario goes to a happy, good place where Princess Peach is, and then Luigi gets sucked into, I think, what they call the Darkland or something like that, and he gets captured by Bowser. And Mario's goal is to save Luigi, and that's as bare bones as I can say it. That's kind of the story that's being told.
Right, so I believe you're correct. So I believe it's the Darklands and then Mushroom Kingdom.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what I think. Yeah, so I think that's a good kind of recap. So it's pretty much about Mario saving Luigi and then helping Princess Peach and them all kind of teaming up against Bowser. The ratings for this movie, so the movie's rated PG, and every now and then we do, or at least we try to be as consistent as we can with the movies that we do to do talk about the ratings and, you know, stuff like that. So Plugged In Movie Reviews by Focus on the Family rates this as medium for kids, light for teens, and light for adults. And then let's see. Common Sense Media says 7 and up. Initial thoughts on the ratings?
Yeah, I took my 5-year-old. Didn't really have an issue. She was fine with it. She actually loves it. So I don't think, 7 and up actually seems high. I mean, I think younger than that's fine.
I think it's high.
But
I mean, I took we didn't go to the movie theater, but we bought it on Apple, and my 3-year-old watched it with us.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's just a fun movie, and
it's just a fun movie. Yeah.
None of the
now I will say he didn't really understand a lot of what was going on, but he really loves the movie.
And you have kind of
he loves the movie.
Bowser trying to force himself on Princess Peach, so maybe that's part of the reason for the medium.
Maybe.
But most kids probably aren't going to see that or really understand that unless you talk to them about it. So
when I was younger, I played Mario a little bit. You probably have more experience with the games being older than I do. But I thought this was interesting. So Common Sense Media, as the little blurb that they write up, so it's like right underneath where they say the check mark and then the age, and they give it a 3 of 5 stars. And then they say colorful adventure is a bit more violent than the games. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, yeah.
Because I think it was pretty much the game.
Yeah, the movie's pretty tame in violence, but I can understand why they would say it's more violent than the game because, I mean, the only violence in the game is you're essentially jumping on things, right, and then smashing them. At least the original game, you just like.
And there were definitely callbacks to that, but maybe more of the
and the fireball, I guess maybe in the game, but
the fireball, the ice, but like even in some of the games, and maybe this is after. So let me ask you this question: did you play the original Jumpman?
Yeah, like the 2D flat.
Like the original, so like what Mario was based off of, like Jumpman, and then Mario came out of Jumpman.
No, I started with Mario. I don't think I ever played Jumpman.
You started with Mario. Okay. Because I think the first Mario was after Jumpman was the one where Donkey Kong's throwing the barrels down the thing, right?
Oh, I did.
And you have to.
So I did play that, but I played that after I already played Mario. So I just
fair enough
because it was out after it came out before I was born. So both of those things were already in existence before I was born.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Right. So I was just curious because there was definitely callbacks to the hopping on the
Donkey
Koopa's
Kong
heads and the shells and Rainbow Road and the Mario Kart and all that. There's like callbacks to that. It was super awesome. I loved it. But I don't really know. I'd like to know what specifically they're talking about here with a bit more violent than the games. Maybe they're saying that inherently because there's a storyline, there's more violence.
Maybe the gladiator like stuff between Mario and Donkey Kong.
Yeah, and Donkey Kong.
That
maybe
stuff could be seen as violent.
Yeah.
Because it is more like hand-to-hand combat. I mean, it's less like a fun little game with a goal and more like a fight.
Yeah. I think that's probably fair. But that's the only thing I can think of being more violent. Cool. So what do you think of the movie, just overall? I mean, I know we kind of touched on it a little bit, but do you have any like favorite parts, or you have least favorite parts, or parts that maybe were useless, parts that were like, I don't know, just anything that you originally thought about the film?
I'll start with the good, I guess. Start with what I really liked. I really liked the Mario Kart scenes, like all that stuff. I thought that was really awesome. I'm not a big fan of. And then also the other thing that I liked was like the training montage when Princess Peach is training Mario and he's failing over and over and over again. That just brings back the experience of playing the game. Like you just keep failing, and you start over. So I like that. That was pretty nostalgic. But everything I liked about it was purely based on the nostalgic feelings of playing the game and kind of reliving that. But overall, I kind of thought the movie was boring. Outside of that stuff, I wasn't a huge fan. Thought it was kind of boring, not the most engaging story.
So, from what I remember of the original games, the original games were saving Princess Peach, and the boys go and save the damsel in distress.
It depends on if you were doing one player or two player, right? You're either just fair. Mario, or Mario dies or fails, and then it's Luigi's turn. Right.
So do you think it would have been a little bit better if they would have followed that same story arc for you instead of being boring?
I don't really think that played into my boredom with it, really. Because I think at that point you're just basically remaking. You're basically just completely remaking the game, and I understand why you don't want to just take it and then put it on film. So take the game and then put it on film. But I mean, I definitely noticed that aspect of it, but I don't think flipping that back around would have made my experience of the movie any more enjoyable.
Yeah.
What do you think? Because it sounds like you have an opinion on that too, since you brought it up.
Well, I think I would have preferred to see that. I would have preferred to. I go back and forth, to be quite honest. I think that. I mean, you know me. I think that the liberal bias in Hollywood is one of the main reasons why that was probably changed. But I also want to give. I want to give the. What am I trying to say? I guess the room for it to be kind of what you said, where it's like you just don't want to like copy and paste the storyline, because I think it still could have been interesting if it was just your stereotypical, guy trying to save the girl, without it feeling just copy and paste.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a way they could have done it.
Because I think the whole feminist thing in our society is infecting a lot of movies and films, and I think that to have, I don't know, I just think that there's a correlation there. But
I think maybe
because you have Mario sucked into this world. And actually, I will say this. One thing that I did like about it is I have never actually made the connection that Peach in the games was a human.
Oh, really?
I never, like, I think I knew, but I never really pieced that together.
Like your mind was blown.
And so when they made the connection to that in the thing, and I was like, oh, like she was taken in. Like I thought that was actually kind of cool.
Makes sense.
In the movie, and then it was her and Mario and stuff like that. So I don't know. I just have some initial thoughts about that and some concerns. I think that because then I would also say that if it was like a politically motivated decision, or I'm sorry, if it wasn't a politically motivated decision, then I would be okay with it, with the storyline the way it is.
And I do think,
but the thought that it could be to push an agenda kind of ruins it for me.
Just the thought that it's a possibility.
Yeah. kind of like, because if I had a daughter, I would want her to be the Peach in the movie.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like I would want her to be able to like carry out a lot of the things that Peach did, but I also don't want the bill of goods that the feminist ideology sells young girls today. You know, that they don't need a man, they don't need a husband, they just need to be independent and go make money and work for corporate America and do the whole thing. And then by the time they're 40, they're familyless and they don't have, you know, there's just a lot of life, soul satisfactory things that, you know, they don't have because they bought that bill of goods. And I don't know. All of that I think is just, I'm on guard of.
Yeah.
So
I do think if they switched it, then a lot would have to change about more than just like who's in what position, or do they, you know, like more than just the fact that
they'd have to rewrite the whole thing.
Because I think the main the central conflict, at least what's going on with Mario, is so like if you were to phrase it as an argument, so the theme is what Luigi says at the very end, and again, we're a spoiler zone, we don't hold back on stuff like that. So if you are nervous or you don't want to hear it, you haven't seen it, go watch it and then come back to us. But at the very end, Luigi says to Mario when he's got that shield and he's basically protecting Mario from the fire or whatever, and he says nothing can hurt us as long as we're together, right? And that is the main theme in the movie, about those two brothers figuring out, or mainly Mario, figuring out that if they're doing things together, then they're not going to fail. They're going to be able to persevere and get through, because earlier in the movie, when it's right after they're in the restaurant and they see their commercial, they go straight to the family table. Like they're at home and they're with their family eating and they're talking about the commercial and their family's sharing all of their opinions. Their dad says, "I just wish you weren't dragging your brother down with you." Right? So they don't have this support, and it's not even necessarily about the dad as much as Mario already thinks he's a failure and that he's bad for his brother. Right? And that is proven true in the moments following, when Luigi is lost because he follows Mario. And then it comes full circle to the point where finally Mario can see in his brother, you know what? No, we are better together. Luigi is better if I'm in his life and helping him than he is without me, and vice versa. So like that's the story, that's the line, the thread that's running through the entire movie. So they would have to, like, if they were going to put Peach into the position where she's lost and they have to save her, like in the games, they would have to flip that thread and like change all that out. But so, yeah.
I agree. So, cool. Okay, let's talk about Jack Black. Because I think he does a phenomenal job as Bowser.
I'd agree with you. I mean, I found Bowser annoying, though. Like, he did a good job because it's what... So that's a hard thing to explain, but I was annoyed by Bowser, but I think on some level I was supposed to be annoyed by Bowser. Right?
Okay.
I think they wanted the audience to just find Bowser insufferably annoying and want him to be gone. I think they wanted that, and that's exactly how I felt. Like the stupid Peaches song. We're just yeah. So success. I was annoyed by Bowser.
Peaches,
Yeah.
Peaches.
Hated it.
Have you seen the social media posts of the worship song where they exchange the word peaches for Jesus? It's the same song. They just do a worship song out of it. It's really bad. It stinks. But it's pretty funny. Yeah. No, I thought Jack Black did a good job as Bowser. So, do you think that part of why you were annoyed is because the movie's not really made for you?
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's got to play into it.
Like it's just a kids. It's just a kids movie. You know. I will say some of my favorite parts of the movie was what's the character that was in the dungeon? The soul or whatever it was. He was like just eternal suffering. He's just like Debbie Downer the entire time. I loved that character. That was the best character for me in the entire movie.
I thought so too. It says some pretty dark things. Yeah, that's
I loved every bit of it.
And that might be, it's not violent, but that might be one of the reasons that it was rated medium.
What was that character's?
I don't know the character's name.
I'm not sure
what it is.
Dude, it was so good.
I don't even think it's defined because then it comes back at the very end.
It does. Did you watch the very end?
I think so, unless I missed something.
After the credits?
After the credits? Not.
Ooh.
I don't think I watched.
You didn't watch?
I think we got up and I didn't watch anything after the credits.
You didn't see the post-credits
What did I miss?
Ooh.
What did I miss?
So it goes. So the end, right?
Okay.
They come back to Brooklyn. Brooklyn. And then like parts of Mushroom. What is it? Mushroom
Kingdom.
Mushroom Island. Kingdom.
Yeah.
Starts like coming back, right? And Bowser comes back, and now they're in the middle of Brooklyn, and they're having this epic showdown, and they grab the star, and they actually there is a plot hole that kind of bothered me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's in this whole thing, but like it's got the final scene, this epic battle. Mario and Luigi obtain the star, and they get the superpowers from the star, and then they beat Bowser, and then they make him eat the small mushroom, and Bowser shrinks, and then they put him in a jar. The plot hole is that those mushrooms wear off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's not like a permanent thing. So that kind of bothered me. I think they could have done a little bit better of a job.
But there's setting the stage for the sequel. Right?
But you don't even know anything about the sequel because you didn't see the...
Right, I'm just saying maybe that sets the... I mean, I'm probably wrong because I didn't see the post-credit scene, but...
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if they tie that together. I mean,
maybe that's something...
but
as far as Mario knows, right? It only goes away when you get hit?
Maybe. But what if you hit yourself?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Run into the sides of the jar. Bowser like just sprinting back and forth.
Yeah. But no, and then the credits roll after everything blows up and whatever, and it goes back to the original pipe, the green pipe system that sucked Mario and Luigi in at the very beginning of the movie.
Okay.
And you see an egg. And it just starts to shake. And then it hatches, and the screen goes black, and you hear Yoshi.
Oh, no, I didn't see that.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I missed that.
It was pretty neat.
Yeah.
So that's really fun. Okay, Nick. So let's see. That's pretty much all I have so far. If you want to jump into your first point, that's fine.
So I don't have like a lot of points or anything, but I do think it's interesting. So I don't know that there's. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to say this. So I'm sorry for kind of starting and stopping like I just did. But so if I go back to that thematic argument that I talked about, like the thing that's going on inside of Mario, the nothing can hurt us as long as we're together, which being the truth that Mario has to learn. And then the thoughts that are preventing him from living that out are himself believing he's a failure and that he's dragging Luigi down with him. I think that can connect, and the need for each other. Like that, the idea of that we need our brother or our brothers. We need our family. I think that connects to the church. That connects to Christians banding together to accomplish something great. So, Mario and Luigi have started a business, and his dad doesn't approve of it because he thinks Mario's dragging Luigi down, and that they can't do great things, and they have to learn that they can do great things, but they have to do it together in order for it to be truly great things. So, to overcome the villain, to overcome all of the things that are going on, you have to band together, and nothing can hurt you as long as you're together, or you won't fail as long as you're together. And so I just think that idea connects to the church and how we're given a mission, and that we're not on an island, we're not solo, we're not to go out and just be individuals doing our own thing. It's we need the church to gather together as brothers. And a couple, Psalm 133:1 is one of the verses that I had in mind, which I thought I had it pulled up, but I lost it, so I'm going to flip there. And just a really simple, short verse. Behold how good and pleasant it is when brothers dwell in unity. All right, so it's just that the goodness of brothers being in unity with one another. Romans 12:10 even is another verse that came to mind, and says just love one another with brotherly affection, talking about the church and the marks of a true Christian. And so that's the context. Paul writing to the church about how they are to live in community with one another and the marks of a true Christian. So one of those is to love one another with brotherly affection. And then Ecclesiastes 4, so I'm kind of going back and forth here, so old, new, old. So back in the Old Testament, and this is usually used as in weddings, this verse that I'm about to use, or that I'm about to read, which I just passed again. I got to go back the other way. Where'd it go? I keep skipping over it.
I mean, I'm going to talk a little bit while you look that up, but even Ephesians talks about church unity and how important it is to come together and work towards a common goal.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really a good point, I think, because at the beginning, you're right, Mario's super down, and the encouragement that he should be getting from his father, like encouragement and wisdom, is really making him fall deeper into, I guess, an incorrect belief, which is detrimental, obviously.
Yeah.
But
yeah, for sure. So Ecclesiastes 4:10 and going through verse 12. For if they fall, one will lift up his fellow, but woe to him who is alone when he falls and has not another to lift him up. Again, if two lie together, they keep warm, but how can one keep warm alone? And though a man might prevail against one who is alone, two will withstand him. And then a threefold cord is not quickly broken. So just the wisdom in essentially strength in numbers. And that three-cord strand is used in weddings all the time to talk about husband, wife, and the Lord and all of that stuff. But just as a principle of never going at it alone, never suffering alone, never seeking to do great things alone, or to go out and win the world alone. It's together the church is called to live, because there's power in numbers, there's strength there, and when you suffer and fall, somebody else can pick you up And that's exactly the moment that Mario realizes that he's not alone, right? He realizes that when he has Luigi, they can succeed and they can do that together. It is the precise moment where Luigi is the one protecting him. Mario is down, about to be burned up in flames, and Luigi stands in the gap and protects Mario. And then Mario can get up and they can go at it together to accomplish their mission.
So let me ask you this question, because I think because we're the WatchWell Podcast. That's our aim is to help others improve their Christian apologetic. Help youth pastors and help pastors. Just the average listener. Maybe someone's just interested in Christianity or another religion or whatever it may be. What would you say in terms of, like, when we think about apologetics and defending the faith, about the multiple different denominations of Christianity as an argument against Christianity?
I would say that,
because you started off with the movie, and from that you extrapolated a truth of church unity, which we would all agree, that all the churches would agree. I'm just curious as to your response to that, to maybe help a listener, the next time they're talking to their friend or a family member or something, if they're confronted with, well, you believe this in your denomination, whatever it may be, but all these other denominations, what makes you right and them wrong, or them right, and how do you truly tell? So maybe if you want to jump on that a little bit to maybe help somebody that might be listening.
Sure. I think that the existence of mostly, okay, so I might even contradict myself, or it might just sound like I'm contradicting myself, but mostly the existence of different Christian denominations has no impact whatsoever on any division or lack of unity among Christians. Okay? And the reason I say that is because in order to be a Christian, there's only one thing that is required. And that is that Jesus came into the world, lived a perfect life, and died on the cross bearing the weight and the punishment of all sin. And then through faith in him and his perfect life, atoning death, and his resurrection, through faith in him, somebody is given eternal life as a gift from God through grace. Anyone who believes that, regardless of any variation in doctrine, regardless of any differences in the age of the earth or the end times or any differences there, regardless of any of those differences, then they are my brother or my sister in Christ. And so even us, and I'm not talking about, like, are there churches and ministers that are still Christian that maybe you shouldn't partner with and things like that? Of course, there are always those examples. But if we're talking in just generalities, if the main thing is truly believed and they're demonstrating faith in that main thing, I can set aside these other doctrinal differences and call that person my brother, right? I mean, you and I have family members that would disagree with us on, on secondary doctrines, like, and even us to some degree, but, like in the Arminianism versus Calvinism debate, right? Where do you fall? Once saved, or once saved, always saved, or you can lose your salvation. Like, you and I both probably know people on all sides of those kind of discussions that we can still 100% confirm, you know what? I think they're wrong about that, but they love the Lord and they are in fact saved and they are my brothers or sisters in Christ, right? So in that we have complete unity and can go into the world and do just as God has called us to, making disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Spirit, and teaching them all that He has commanded. Right? We can go into the world and do that together, as long as that main thing is the main thing. And now there are denominations that aren't churches at all. Like there are denominations that aren't even, like, they wouldn't even say that Jesus Christ is essential, and somehow they're Christians. Like that doesn't make any sense. Those denominations aren't Christians. If you don't believe in Jesus, you're not a Christian. Like, that's just the way it is. But of those that do, we're all under the same grace, and we can go forward together.
Right. And then I was going to add something there, but I can't think of it right now, so I'm going to move on. But I think I 100% agree with you. Absolutely agree with you. I think the denominations argument, if that is even an argument, I think is a flat one, or maybe not necessarily a flat one, but I think a different argument would be like if someone has a belief that, like, Latter-day Saints or Mormons,
right, sure,
are a denomination of the church. You know, I think I would even put, like, Catholicism kind of in between there as well, because what they have in common would be a works-based. It's you know, grace, and then after all you can do. So there's like it's Christ, but he's not sufficient enough to save me, so I have to do something in order to earn it as well, like
or
a merit-based thing. Maintain it, yeah. I think that if there's a, for lack of a better term, an educational misunderstanding of denomination, then that would be a different argument, if that makes sense. But like Mormon, Latter-day Saint, Catholicism, that's different than you know, Baptist and Presbyterians. Yeah. You know, I think that they would disagree on certain things, but at the core of it, to your point, salvation through faith by grace alone, apart from works, is the essential core doctrine that is believed. And through that, really, that is what unites us. It should be. It should be what is uniting us. So yeah, I think that's really good. I just had to throw that in there just in case someone is experiencing that argument, because I think I've heard that argument through social media, reading whatever. You know, why are you a Christian, or how can you believe what you believe if there's no defining authority?
Yeah, and so that is an argument that a lot of Catholics would throw at Protestantism, right. Like, you know, you have all these different denominations, but we have one unifying church, or one unified church, because we are all under the authority of the Pope, right? So they would point to that, right. And Mormons could even make the same argument, because they're under one central authority as well. Like, they have a president of their
right.
of the Church of Latter-day Saints, and you know, they could make the same argument that they are more united because they're under one authority as well. But yeah, to your point, the answer that was given. That's the answer, is that the essential doctrine of Jesus Christ, the Son of God, who in his very nature is divine, coming into the world and doing what we couldn't, and then paying our penalty. That doctrine is the essential thing that unites all Christians.
Yep. That's awesome. The thing that I wrote on a little bit on Bowser as the bad guy, because Ronan loves bad guys.
Does he?
He's in a
likes
bad
the
guy.
bad guys.
Yeah. And
so, has he ever said what he likes about Bowser? Like,
honestly, I think he just likes I think he just likes to say bad guy.
Okay.
And I think he likes Bowser because Bowser is a turtle and a dinosaur.
Okay.
It's like a turtle combined with a dinosaur. So I think that's why a 3-year-old likes Bowser. And he likes that he breathes fire. So he runs around, he goes, and he like breathes fire.
Have you tried to play Mario Kart with him at all?
Oh, he's too young. So my sister has that on the new, whatever the new Nintendo, what's it called, Switch or something? Yeah, the Switch. And sometimes we go over there with my parents and we play, and it's a lot of fun. but he can't do the controller. Yeah. He doesn't know what to.
Does he like to watch it?
Like that. But eventually,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Loves to watch it. Loves to watch it. So he loves that. I think. I mean, this is very basic and it's kind of Americanized, but power wants more power is kind of what I thought of. Mm-hmm. So Bowser wants the star because the star gives him more power than everybody else. Mm-hmm. Even though I think from the get-go, from the rip of the movie, he kind of already did. It's like he didn't even use the star. If he would have consumed the star, he would have been even more powerful.
But he wanted Peach.
Yeah, but Peach didn't want the star. So like he got the star, and then he wanted Peach to marry him so that they could use the star to rule.
But would that be why he wouldn't have done it earlier?
But if he consumed the star at the beginning, there would have been no chance for anyone else to stop him. So that I thought that was a little convenient for the plot.
Yeah.
But we're going to suspend our disbelief a little bit. But it just kind of made me think of like, okay, so as Christians with authority, like we really have to think about who gives us our authority, and I know this is a little abstract, extrapolating from the movie, but Bowser goes after the star. It's given him, it's this prized possession. It's this source of power. You could take that, and I thought of authority, the source of power, and he's going to use that to appeal to his love interest. Mm-hmm. And then when she rejects him, he goes further into that power to force himself onto her and says, I'm pretty much just going to destroy the kingdom if you don't do what I say.
Sounds like maybe insecurity.
So power wants more power. I would say, definitely insecurity. Very tyrannically minded. So I just think as Christians with authority, I think we really have to be in check and have guardrails around us because it's very, very easy to fall into the trap of your own wickedness. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I thought about it because, I mean, it's kind of superficial. It's not super overly profound or anything. That's just kind of what it made me think.
Yeah. What's the? I already said one passage that's always used in weddings, but what's the other one? Like the love passage that's always used at weddings, like love is patient.
Corinthians?
What do you know the exact reference for that? I can't think it off the top of my head, but
I think it's 1 Corinthians 13:5-8.
Right. So then in that section it goes on to say, love does not insist on its own way.
Yeah, I'm going to look it up because a lot of people forget to read the whole thing. And I've actually been like reading that every day. So in our kitchen we have that verse up. And in a world where love is being redefined to ultimately mean inclusivity, it's very interesting to go back and read that word. Because it's actually very exclusive. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna read it here. It says, "Love is patient, love is kind." This is in verse 4, starting in verse 4, 1 Corinthians 13. Love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. And in some translations it says love never fails. So, I just think that's interesting where, to your point, it says it doesn't, it does not insist on its own way, and it doesn't rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth.
Yeah.
So as Christians, we kind of back on the authority thing. I'm kind of referencing like military and police and it could be an employer, people who own their own businesses, pastors, anybody in a position of authority that claims Christ really has to get down to the core of where that comes from. And in this case, it comes from the star, which gives you superpowers. But in reality, all authority bows at the feet of Christ. He's the only one that can give anybody any sort of authority, and I think that a lot of conservatives, note I'm not saying conservative Christians, but I mean they would fall into this as well. But conservatives ultimately, they get super upset at like Joe Biden and the president and the left and all of this, and it becomes uncomfortable when you read these verses and you say, well, nobody can come into a power unless Christ decrees it. And they're in power. So that's what Jesus wants. And you just have to submit to Christ's authority. And that's a part of the plan. So I think that, you can still think that he's a terrible president, and you can think that they're doing bad things and the country's headed in the wrong ways, and wicked evil is happening a lot, with movies like The Sound of Freedom and all of these political things that are redefining words and, obliterating what marriage is, and these institutions that God, created. And that's how Christians define things, is by, Christ. And, we've had episodes on sola scriptura and being the authority of our faith and what it, how it governs and stuff like that. But God can use evil to further his kingdom. And we have to be in submission to that,
use it for good,
even if we don't like it. Right. So,
and that's
kind of.
Go ahead.
That's kind of where I went with that. That's all.
Good. Because Bowser definitely tries to accumulate for himself more and more power, which a lot of villains do. But right. I think something that's really interesting, and I thought about while you were talking about that, is I don't think anyone watching the movie who's old enough and mature enough to actually make a thought like this. And I think kids would get it on like a more subconscious level. But there's no one that would walk away from the movie and think that Bowser actually loved Peach. Right? He wasn't actually in love with Peach. He was...
Well, I don't know about that. I might disagree, only based off of a technicality.
Okay.
I think you're correct in the way that you're defining love. But in our society, I think love is defined by, like, you're just infatuated. And it's this just superficial infatuation that comes and goes. And when you take that definition, I think they would say that he loves her. But by the Christian standard, I agree with you.
But I don't think anyone in the theater would look at Bowser and say, "Oh, he just needs help. He's lost. Like, Peach just needs to accept him because he's in love with her and everything will be better." Right? No one sees Bowser and the goals that he has and says, "Man, if he just gets what he wants, then everything will be fine." Right? Like, there's no one sitting in the audience who's rooting for, except for maybe Ronan, I don't know, who's rooting for Bowser to get exactly what he wants. Right? Right. Bowser. And I think there's, we can talk about what's written on man's hearts, right? God has written his law on his hearts. And one of the things that makes obvious that Bowser is just selfishly seeking after Peach is the fact that he's insisting on it happening in this particular way in which he wants it to be. So that's when I brought up that does not insist on its own way. Bowser, throughout this, claiming he's in love, is very much insisting on everything happening exactly as he pleases and exactly as he chooses to arrive at the exact outcome that's best for Bowser, or that he sees as best for himself. And that's accumulating more power and authority, and he hopes that Princess Peach can rule with him. But I think everyone who's sitting in the audience can recognize that Bowser is the villain and is not doing good things and does not want what's right and does not want what's best for Peach because he's insisting on his own way. So fundamentally, we know it's not love because of that, and people will suppress that, like in real life. Like when you're out in the world.
So you're saying that you're saying that the movie appeals to that sense of justice, but then they turn around and do something different
in the world
because they would be doing what in the world they would be doing what Bowser's doing.
Absolutely.
Right. No, I 100%.
But when it's put in front of them, it's kind of like in movies when one of the villains is, and you could even put Bowser in this category, when one of the villains is a bully, no one thinks they're the bully that's being depicted on screen. Like, even the most bullying person never sees themselves as the bully when they're watching a character on screen. Even if they go to the school playground the next day and start bullying a little kid, they're acting just like the villain on screen, right? So this, seeing that on screen is appealing to that sense of justice and that sense of right and wrong that God has written on our hearts, yet the unbelieving, the lost, go out and suppress that in everyday life.
That just made me think of Jeremiah 17:9. The heart is deceitful above all things. Made me think of that. So and from an apologetics standpoint, that's kind of it. Because when you remove the authority of a supernatural moral arbitrator, then you're left with with no foundation, a lack of foundation for morals. So when we watch a film or we see something in art or we see something in real life and we say that is not just, well, by what standard do you have to claim that that's not just? Is it you by like your own standard, or is it the standard of society? What basis is there to say that feeling that you have, like you quoted Romans 1, where it's 1, or was it chapter 1, I think?
Chapter 1. Romans 1, suppress the truth and unrighteousness. Yeah.
Right. I think it's verse 18. But I think that goes a long way, because your heart is wicked, deceiving yourself into I'm the good guy. When really, when we're honest with ourselves, we're the bad guy. We're the bully. We're the wicked. We're the evildoer. And that's why we need a savior. And the appeal to justice is what's written on our heart, is that common grace that allows us to do good things. It's, in spite of us being broken, dead, spiritually. So I thought that was kind of, I like that a lot. I think that's good stuff for sure.
Yep. So I don't know if you have anything else, but what would you, if you were rating on a scale of, 1 to 10 or 0 to 10, what would your rating of Super Mario Brothers the movie be?
I feel like this is a trap.
No, I'm just asking. First, okay, let's start with this. What would Ronan's rating be?
I mean, we've watched it like 70 times. We've watched a lot. It's either, what is it? It's either this or what other movie does he like to watch? I don't know. You get good as a parent tuning things out on TV.
That is nothing more true has ever been said.
I don't know. IMDb rates it as a 7.1 out of 10. I was gonna give it an 8.
You're gonna rate it that high? Really?
I was gonna rate it that high because I think it was very clever with how much of the game they kept to it. Just even like when they're running to their first customer's house, before the dog tries to kill him in the bathroom, where that scene where that whole construction scene I thought was awesome, where they're running and through the construction zone, but the whole 3-dimensional movie pans to like a 2-dimensional flat frame where they're going in different things on the construction structures and sliding. It's going back from that 2-dimensional game to like the 3-dimensional movie, and I just loved all that. I loved all that. I thought that was great, and how they just slyly snuck things in where they're doing the Mario Kart thing on Rainbow Road, and he falls off the rainbow, and he falls onto another car, and he hops on their head, and just the way the transitions worked from a movie standpoint and the production of it, I would give it an 8.
I think if
The reason why I would rate it lower is because the storyline I think sucks. I think the storyline is kind of boring. I didn't like that they didn't stay true to the Italian thing.
Yeah. But, I mean, unless you're going to make
like,
Chris Pratt do an accent, and if you want Chris Pratt
right,
to voice
I know that
it,
that can be kind of... Right, I think that can be difficult, but but I don't know. I give it an 8.
An 8?
That's what I think.
Yeah, I'm solid at a 5. Like,
that's not shocking.
I usually rate lower than a lot of other people, but so yeah, I give it a 5.
I mean, I would agree with you if I was rating it for a different demographic of people.
Well,
but if I was rating it for me to enjoy it, I would rate it lower. But for the demographic of people, it's rated PG, and for a PG movie, I think it's pretty decent. I think it's a 7 or 8 for a PG movie.
Not that I can name a bunch off the top of my head right now, but I'm certain that there are other G and PG rated movies that I would rate much, much, much higher than this one. So, and so
I would really like to know what those movies are. Because I'm thinking of like things that would compete with this movie would be like Despicable Me.
Yeah, I'd rate Despicable Me higher. Yeah, I would rate the second Sing movie higher.
Now, is that just because you've seen it more?
No, I just think the story's more emotionally satisfying, and I think it's more impactful.
You know what? With Sing, I think I might actually agree with that, but I don't know. I think I might rate Sing. I thought Sing was a great movie.
Yeah.
I thought both of them were really good.
Personally, I like the second one better, but I love both of them.
Yeah, I don't know if I could pick one.
And so does my daughter. My daughter loves both of them too.
Yeah, they're really good movies. I don't know. Maybe I am being generous. I'll settle for a 7.
I'm not trying to convince you to lower it. I was just trying to explain.
I know, but I think I would stick with 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Because I think IMDb or this score has Mario right.
Yeah.
Whatever this is, IMDb rating.
If I'm rating it nostalgia, then it's
and that's 181,000 reviews or stars.
Oh yeah, people love it. I mean, I'm not going to negate that. People definitely connect with it and love it. If I'm rating it nostalgia, I'd rate it higher.
But the most common number, I mean, it kind of makes sense with averaging, but so 15.6% of people gave it a 10. 10.4% of people gave it a 9. 23.3% gave it an 8. 27% gave it a 7. And then it goes down from there. 6 was a 13. 1.1% gave it a 1. That's just interesting statistics.
Yeah.
But that makes sense why it averages out at a 7. But I don't think that's too far off. What else would be a movie in competition with this? Like, I'm sure Disney movies would probably...
Yeah, so like the original Toy Story and the second Toy Story, I would rate higher. Maybe I might even rate all the Toy Stories higher.
Oh, man, it's been so long since I've seen all those movies. Have you ever seen the movie Treasure Planet?
It's been a long time, but yeah. Yeah, I've seen it. I remember liking it. I couldn't tell you a lot about it, but I remember
we should do that
liking it.
We should do that one because I think that would be I think, is that by DreamWorks, I think? DreamWorks
I don't know.
Pixar? I don't remember.
I think it's Disney.
Like
I think
Shrek.
It's Disney.
Shrek would be one. It might be Disney.
Shrek has a lot of stuff for adults in it, though. Like
it does.
lot of...
So it's a little elevated. Yeah. Adult humor. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Michael
and
Myers.
So,
or not Michael Myers.
I don't want to be a promotion for Disney or anything, but probably the best animated movie I've seen in the last several years is Raya and the Last Dragon.
I've never seen it.
A lot of people would probably consider it woke, and that's fine. I think there's definitely elements of that and decisions that they made in the production of it, like certain characters are female and things like that. But if I just look at it in isolation, like the way the story plays out, and it's these characters in the world that they're in, it's awesome. It's incredible.
So, like, if you just take that world for face value,
it's awesome. Yeah.
Might have to. Is it a Disney movie?
So
yeah, bummer.
But yeah, so 5. My rating. I'm sticking at 5 for my rating of Super Mario Brothers.
I just think you're.
I might be. I'm not going to deny it. Liam and I have that conversation all the time that my ratings are always super low. So
yeah, I think
because after every movie we watch, we give it a rating, and he's like, "Okay, what's your really harsh rating on this one?" So this one's a 5.
I don't really know what to say after that.
I think we're done. This is
we are
a great smooth ending right here. All right. See you later.
It's like we're crashing into the ravine at the end of this. Yeah, I really am kind of speechless. I'll let you close this one, Nick.
Yeah, I don't know all the stuff that we're supposed to say for this. Again, thanks for watching WatchWell Podcast. If you want to support us, you can find us on. If you want to consume the content, you can find us on YouTube, Facebook. We've been doing some lives on Thursday nights, so you can join for that. If you want to support the podcast, you can support us at Patreon, or you can support us at pbcinematography.com. Go to podcast, and we have merch and stuff available that you can purchase. And we hope that you do, because we want to grow the podcast and expand those things. So if you like what we do, please consider either going to Patreon and supporting us that way, or buying merch and supporting us that way.
Hey guys, it's Parker from the WatchWell Podcast. We want to thank you for watching, and we want to remind you to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. And remember, it's an Acts 17:22 kind of day. We'll see you in the next one.